Hello, welcome back to She's the Business podcast. My kids have just gone back to school today after the school holidays, and I thought that this would be a really great topic to talk about today is the challenge of parenting and running a business and how you could maybe think about your business in a slightly different way if you're also a parent in business. So if that's you, stay tuned. It's coming right up. Hello, I'm your host, Jessica Osborne. I'm a marketing strategist, ex-corporate girl who's been a business coach for almost a decade now. And this is not my first business, not my first run at the rodeo, so to say. It is the second business that I started on my own, basically with almost no investment, no resources, literally building the thing from scratch myself at home. And I've been there. I've done it. I've tried all the things. I've tried literally everything. And the one thing that I really feel is missing so often when we're building a business from home is the ability to connect with others who are similar to us. Now, yes, there's plenty of groups out there, but I felt that She's the Business podcast was a really great platform to not only be able to tune in and listen to just down-to-earth practical advice about running a business and how you can be the best version of you, but also to hear from others. So the type of guests you hear on this podcast, on this show, are women just like you. A lot of them are mothers and parents, so it's really great for our topic today. But they have done the same thing. They have had a reason to start a business, and usually they haven't had that experience beforehand. So this is your weekly dose of motivation and inspiration. We cover everything that's required for you to be successful in your own business. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we do making it. Okay, so today we're talking about parenting and running a business at the same time. I know that there's a lot of chit chat at times, and, we do get onto the feed and you can see people talking about how much of a challenge it is. And then also I have been in multiple groups, coaching programs, masterminds over the years where there's this kind of undercurrent of, well, just get out of your own way and get things done. And it's almost like as a parent, you feel a little bit ashamed that you're not doing the same things that those who don't have kids are able to do. Like they can sit down and pull some all-nighters and do what they need to do, and they get stuff done. And I feel like this creates a bit of a lie and a perception out there that you have to pull all-nighters, that you've got to, do that hustle and grind in order to be successful in business. And it's interesting that a lot of the big names out there tend to be people without kids. That only adds to our feeling of like, well, it's harder for me, or how can I possibly be successful when all the people I'm looking up to don't have kids themselves, right? But the thing is that there are many, and maybe you just haven't heard of as many, but there are so many different ways of building a business and running a business that don't have to subscribe to that hustle and grind culture. And in fact, I think that, so I'm probably not telling you anything you don't already know or don't already agree with, but there's so many people out there who start off that way and then find like, oh goodness, it might be easy to do for a few weeks, maybe a month, while they're on the buzz of creating, and then it gets really hard. So for me, when I started this second business, I knew right from the word go, when I pressed the button on starting, was that I needed to build in the ability to make it sustainable. It had to be sustainable, which means it had to work in with life, like the lifestyle factors. How do you live your life while you're building a business is so important. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up literally to fail, and so much more so when you're a parent, because as you know, you don't get a choice about things at times. You might have had dinner, done the dishes, and then be sitting in your child's room for the next hour and a half while they struggle to go to sleep. And you start off feeling nice and reading books, and then you start getting cranky, just close your eyes and it will work, please. So, there's just time that ends up getting taken out of your schedule that you really don't have full control over. And I know that, there's always somebody sitting there thinking, well, that just might be your bad parenting, whatever. The thing is that, I can be the best parent on earth. That doesn't mean that my child is always going to be a perfect angel. They're always going to do exactly as they're meant to, never have any problems or issues. They get sick, they need cuddles, whatever it is. And it's also a bit about who you want to be. And I know that business changes, evolves, we're always doing something different. However, we've got this short amount of time with our kids while they're young. And, I don't want to set them up for a lifetime of therapy because I was absent, because I wasn't there for them when they really needed me. I want to make sure I've done a great job in these years, but I'm also someone that's not just sitting back and thinking that's all I'm going to do. Yes, I want to have a successful business as well. So the big question is, well, how do you do that? How do you build flexibility, sustainability, and create freedom? Now, I know I've just used some big buzzwords. That freedom for you might look different to freedom for someone else. The thing is that pretty much every entrepreneur I've ever spoken to started a business because they wanted some form of freedom, whatever that freedom means for them. And there's so many reasons as to why you want it, right? Maybe the world that you were in, if you had a job, if you came from the business world, if you were, maybe you're a healthcare professional, there might have been just a way where it wasn't working out for you. It wasn't giving you the flexibility you needed to be able to live your life. And that could have been partly the reason why you decided, hey, you know what? It might just be easier if I can choose my own hours, if I can do my own thing. And I'd say that is probably the case for 95% of us who decided we'd go into business. So there's so many different pieces of advice out there. You can listen to podcasts like this one. You can scroll the feed, read blogs, watch YouTube videos. There's a ton of business advice out there. And most of it was not really created with a parent entrepreneur in mind. And I think that what I've noticed over time is that you can get sucked into these voids of thinking this is the way that you've got to do things. And, in order to be successful on Instagram, you've got to post 15 times a day or whatever some person was saying is their way that they've discovered. I mean, it's really easy to believe all of it to begin with and then just get sucked into these things thinking that you've got to make it happen and looking around and thinking, well, other people must all be doing it too, otherwise how are they succeeding? But time and time again, what I have noticed both with the clients that I have worked with and also in my own business is that you don't have to do it all. You don't have to be everywhere. You definitely don't have to post 15 times a day to be successful. What actually matters is choosing and selecting I'm going to say designing, shall we say designing, the model that's going to work for you in your business. Like there is no such thing as here is a success path. Well, there is a such thing as one, but there's so many of them, like pick one. there's a billion, maybe. And what I kind of help people with, because if you start going down that pathway of trying to find the success path, you would have been far better off, and it would have been much faster if you had just designed it yourself in the first place. So the thing is, what do you need to know to design it? Okay, so let's start here. What is super important is knowing straight away, what are your values? And I don't mean it from a fluffy, here's what I put on the website as to what my values are that people care about. What are your values, as in, why did you build this business? What matters to you? And what do you need in order for you to feel successful, in order for you to feel fulfilled, have joy in your day, to be waking up every morning thinking, wow, I am so lucky that this gets to be my life. Because if you haven't created the business that allows you to feel that on a daily basis, it's not going to last long. It's going to start feeling like a drag. It's probably going to start feeling just like another job that you've created for yourself, but this time you're the boss. So you kind of know when you're giving excuses. You're a really tough boss on yourself, right? why would you do that? Why would you do that to yourself? Really, when you think about it, I know initially and in the moment, starting a business might feel like this is the way that I'm going to make some money, but it's so much bigger than that. You're choosing a lifestyle. You're actually choosing a path. It is far easier to just go and get a job than it is to build a business. So when you make that choice that this is what you want, this is what you really want to do, is the business, then you need to decide you're going all in on it. Like, yes, and you might have a job, which can be fine. As I've done a few episodes on this in the past where I've said, if you're doing a business, you're all in on it. It means you're committed to it. And that means changing your language and changing your perspective. So cutting a long story short, go back and listen to the episode. I think I talked about side hustles a while ago. If you're still running a side hustle, absolutely fine. You need to pay the bills somehow. So the job isn't a problem. But think about it as a side job. It is the way that you're bringing in money so that you can build the business. It's a temporary means to an end, right? And when you think about it in that way and you have your commitment to the business, then it changes just your whole perspective. And that means that the kind of decisions you're going to make changes. How you show up for your business changes. What you're going to do really does change. So I went off down a little tangent there. I'll come back to the values. What are the values that you have that drive your business? Because when you're clear on what your values are, then it helps you to answer the next question. So values, and what I mean by this is, how do you perceive the business fitting into your life? Are you a business first, family second person? Is your value around the business? What does that even mean? Is it the community? Is it the impact? Is it the results? Where is that value for you that makes this something that you're going to be able to commit to and show up even when times get hard, even when it's frustrating, that you're actually going to go, this is fine. It's fun because I'm completely aligned with my values for how I want to live my life, because your business is part of your life, whether you like it or not. As a business owner, you can't detach. You don't sort of have work brain, home brain. You're the creator of the business, and therefore it is a part of you. It's part of your personal life, whether you like it or not, because we all know you're going to end up thinking about it while you're making dinner, when you're in the shower, maybe sometimes when your kids are talking to you and you've got that faraway expression in your mind. Then they say, hello, Mum, are you there? Yes, it's just going to creep in. So it better be something that you really care about. So what is your value in terms of the business? What is it there for? Why do you even want it? You need to be really clear on that. You also need to be clear on what are the boundaries that you're going to put in place with your business and your life. Because if you don't put a boundary in, then the business is like the neediest baby that you've ever had. It's going to creep into all areas of your life. And as you would know, when you have kids, that means something gets squeezed out. There's a compromise. And usually the part that gets squeezed the most is you. So you prioritize your business. Obviously, you prioritize your kids. For me, my kids come at a higher priority than my business. So I structure my business around what I know I need to be doing when I want to be present for my kids. I start there. Then the business comes next. Obviously, down the line somewhere, I fit in. But when you're allowing that business to have very flexible boundaries and you're willing to allow it to take over time that otherwise you would have allocated to other things, you're going to find it does bleed into everywhere in your life. Before you know it, you'll wake up one day and think, well, I don't know when the last time was I took some time for me, when I last exercised, when I last committed to myself. And that's just a sign of having a lack of boundary with your business. Now, it is possible to have it. And I just want to say, if you're sitting there now thinking, oh my goodness, that is me, please don't be ashamed. I'm not here to shame you. I'm simply here to turn a mirror around and help you see in a mirror what might be happening, the reason why things may be hard, why you might be feeling exhausted, stressed, not in love with the business anymore. All of those things. And it's not your fault. It's like no one knows all of this stuff first. I've been through many times where I definitely let the business take over. I have had some amazing times where I've completely clawed back all my own personal power, put great boundaries in place, and watched my business thrive. And it's been so interesting that even with that experience, I still allowed it to take over again. Yep, I did. I've made all of those mistakes. So I'm sitting here talking from a place of compassion, a place of experience, and a place of like, hey, shit, it does happen without you realizing it, and it's okay. It doesn't mean that you're stuck there. It means you can become aware of it, and now you can move forward. You can move on, and you can claim back some of that space. Just to give you an example, because you might be like, well, how can I claim back space? Well, one of the things that I've loved doing with some of my clients is helping them identify the stuff that they're doing in their business. Often there's offerings that they have, services that they're offering, parts of their business that are there simply because once upon a time someone asked them to do it, or everyone kind of has this expectation that it's part of your business, but they haven't actually sat there and taken ownership of that and decided that whether they want to offer it, whether it's even right for them. And I've helped them identify those areas that are feeling really heavy, that are draining, that are not fun at all, and usually, ironically, they're also the least profitable. So why would we want to keep on doing them, right? They actually don't. And I'm going to put my stake on a hill and sit here and talk about this. I've said it before, but even if other people offer it and you don't, that doesn't mean that you're not going to be hired. People aren't sitting there looking through a list and going, I want the one who offers the most different stuff. That is just not the case. But your subconscious, the risk adverse fear monger in your brain, the little inner critic, will fire on as soon as you think about deleting it and go, oh, could be really risky. Don't do it. People won't hire you. It's going to say all of that stuff. It's going to be hard. You're going to have to already trust in yourself, trust in that, and maybe it could be a good idea to go and find some examples of some people who don't offer it so that you can talk back to that inner critic and say, it is not the case. Everybody does. And even if they do, so what? You could be the leader. Maybe everyone else is thinking, I wish I didn't also offer this one part of my business. Maybe you could be the first one that doesn't. And they go, wow, I wish I was that brave. Or they start to follow you because now you're the proof they needed, right? It's okay. It's not going to break your business. And in fact, what I've seen every time one of my clients has been brave and decided that they're going to shave some parts off, that they're no longer going to offer these things that are weighing them down, non-profitable. There literally is no good reason for offering it except that some clients want the service. When they've got rid of it, they've gone, wow, I'm now attracting more clients who are actually the ones I really want to work with, getting paid more, and my time is not being sucked away by this offering that I don't even enjoy or love. Now, tell me what is bad about that. They're earning more, they're working with better clients, and they're no longer carrying those heavy rocks, that load of really unfun stuff. Never, ever have I seen someone have their business then fall down and collapse. They have stepped into their power, into the actual place that they thrive in, and it's only returned positive results for them. So sure, it's scary. Sure, nothing is certain in the future. You don't know what's going to happen. No one can guarantee it. But you can look at these patterns and go, isn't that interesting, curious? There is nowhere that it's written just because someone who is a client of yours wants something that you yourself need to offer it. Think about all the different other ways they could potentially get that service. Maybe you could recommend people to them. You could potentially outsource it and have it as a white labeled offering, a secondary offering, although you're still then left holding the baby. I don't necessarily recommend that. You could have a partnership with someone else who does do that, who actually loves it, and you could share clients between each other. Like, there's so many different ways that you could do it. That doesn't mean that you're left holding it. So I have diverted slightly from my topic today, which is parenting with business. But, I was on a bit of a roll there talking about your boundaries and how you're designing your business to actually support your life as a parent. So to give you another example, and one of the reasons why inside Business Jam, I don't normally tell people this from the beginning, but one of the steps we go through right at the very start is to map out your week. Like, what are the non-negotiables? What are the things that you'd like to have in there? And then what are the things that are kind of flexible, compromise options? And non-negotiables, once you start putting those in, you're going to find quickly, okay, there's a lot of time that's already gone. Your sleeping time, it goes in first, 100%. Anything you're committed to, like your kids' stuff, sports, stuff that you've committed to that is super important to you, that all goes in. And in and around all of that, then you find the time that's left for your business. Now, we do it that way because for some reason, a lot of people get really surprised at how much time they actually have for their business. If they put in the way that they want to be living their life first, they discover, I thought I could work a full-time job, but actually I've only got 25 hours. I had one client had 10 hours a week. That was all she had for the business. And so that means when you're looking at what you're going to offer and how you're going to run your business, you're making some very different choices than someone who has a full 40-hour week. Maybe some out there who don't have kids have even more than that. They're like, I want to work 60 hours. Great. If you do, great for you. For me, absolutely not. It is about a 20-hour maximum. And I've decided as well during term time. So as I said, right at the beginning today, the kids have gone back to school. It's term 2 has just begun here in Australia, and I'm back to having some time while they are at school. But I've found over the last couple of years that trying to plan business things in the holidays, aside from a couple of calls that I can do, I can do some one-on-one coaching calls. I can hold a group call. But it's better for me if I don't have much scheduled during school holidays. It means that I'm able to do some work on my business myself because I can kind of grab pockets of time here and there without having to commit to it. I can help the kids do what they need to do. They can have a great time in their holidays, and there's just so much more going on. The house gets hectic when you've got kids here at home during the day, all day. They have their friends around, they're in the pool, they're face painting each other, they're making snacks, and sure, I'm not just letting my 9-year-old do some baking without me in the kitchen. So it just means that we can live life in that way if I've been clear about how much time I have and then design my business around it. So it's really, as I said before, starting with the values. And to me, my value 100% of time is having freedom and flexibility in my life, but also being here for my kids, being really present while they're young. So that is a core value of mine. And I start with that. Then I put the boundaries in place. What does that look like for me? And then I design the business and the offerings that I have to suit. So it means that sure, there are some decisions that you make around it. How are you going to offer your services? What does your support look like? Where are your boundaries within your offerings and within your support? For example, your services that mean that it's going to work for you. It's going to feel fun. It's going to be sustainable, and your clients still get a great experience. Because remember, it's not about giving them everything. It's not about being at their beck and call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's not what most clients are asking for. And if they're doing that, it's only because you haven't put a boundary in place and you've created an expectation that you're available then. So if you don't want to be, then you create the offering with the clear boundaries and setting the expectations so that they're actually not disappointed at all if you're not available every single day. You're available when you said you'd be available, right? And because you're meeting that expectation, and you probably, no doubt, will exceed it, it turns into a really positive experience for them. But it just starts with that level of clarity that you set. This is your business, your rules, you're playing the game, you're the leader, so you've got to define what it looks like. And that, I think, is, for me, hopefully you've got a sense of how you can have the most success as a parent. I think you really need to tune out of a lot of the advice that you're listening to on the internet from people who don't have kids. But even when they do, it can be easy to think you've got to follow all of them, like all of these different things. And I'm so passionate about helping people design, when you get to the execution of your marketing strategy. So what are you going to put in your plan? There's no point picking activities that are going to completely clash with the lifestyle that you've already mapped out when you've got availability for work. If it's going to take you 4 hours a day to create social media content and you've only got 5 hours for work, then that's probably not going to be the best strategy for you, right? But the thing is that there are so many different ways you can market your business. There is literally something that will fit everyone. I've had clients who filled their books without any social media. I've had others who marketed themselves only on social media. They didn't even have a website and they were fully booked. Like, there is a way that suits everyone. There are more passive evergreen ways. There are more active ways. We're talking long form content versus short form content. There's so many different options for you. So instead of feeling overwhelmed by it and thinking, gosh, I've got to do all this stuff, you don't have to do all of it. But it's about picking and choosing. Start with a couple. Pick and choose a few activities that fit for you, that align, that make sense, that are going to be doable with the amount of time you have, with your energy, with what you love. So to give you an example of that, I create this podcast as long form content. I used to, back in my corporate days, I did a lot of writing. I used to write blogs and articles all the time. I started off in this business writing blogs. And when podcasting came on the scene, it took me a couple of years to decide I was brave enough to do podcasting. But I kind of realized before that I was doing some lives on my social media and thought, I actually find it really easy to talk rather than write. It's way faster. And I like it. I've got over the whole awkwardness on camera, and I decided the podcast would be a really great way for me to create content. So I chose it, and that meant I dropped the blogs. Now I write blogs for my website and literally come from the podcast episodes that I record, so that there's one source of the content, and then I have all these other ways that come from that one single source that allow people to consume it in different ways. But I'm not out there writing blogs over there, creating podcast articles here, all different social media. It's very much a well-oiled machine where I start with my podcast and then I have a content kind of plan that falls out from it. Like, the content literally gets almost, I'm not going to say automatically created because that's not true. I do make sure that it's fit for purpose and I do a little light edit on things, but the content's already there. It's done, and it's done in the fastest, most efficient way. So that gives you an example of what I'm talking about. And the other key thing I'll just mention here, because I do usually talk about this in my trainings, is that it's not just about choosing random activities that you like, oh, I'll do a podcast because I like it and I'll do Instagram because I like it. What will work for your business is making sure you've got something at each level of I'm going to call it the funnel because people know what a funnel is. So you've got something top of funnel for brand new people to discover you. You've got something middle of funnel for those people who have discovered you to kind of take a step in, join your audience, start to really get to know you better. And then you've got something that helps them put their hand up and give you their details, which creates them as a lead. So a lead is not just someone who's joined your email list to get an email newsletter. They are someone who's put their hand up for a specific type of lead magnet that is linked to your offer. So when you have those 3 steps, you can see straight away how you're getting people into that lead bucket who are ideal clients who would sign up and buy because you've created the lead magnet from your offer. Now, I hadn't thought I was going to talk about this one today, but since I have, I'll mention that if you would like to learn how to create that type of lead magnet that doesn't just fill your list with randoms, but it actually fills it with the people who are right for your main offering. I have what I call a mini course, because you could knock it off in a couple of days. It's only got a couple of videos in there. I'm not going to say a couple. It's got a few. It's got a couple of steps in there, but it's quite quick. You could do it in a weekend and have your lead magnet done. If you would like that, then I'll drop the link in the show notes. I call it your irresistible lead magnet because it's not only something that people really want, but it's also attracting the right sort of people, which is the most important thing about it. I don't know why so many people, especially 5 years ago, they're going, build your list. And they're thinking of a million different ways that people might subscribe, but they're just attracting non-buyers, attracting people who are completely not the right fit for them. And then you end up with a giant email list that you're paying for, by the way, on most of those platforms, and they're not the right fit for your offer. So what is the point? That doesn't make your list better because it's bigger. It makes it better when it's big but full of buyers. That's what you want. But plus, you're better off having a smaller list full of buyers than a giant list full of non-buyers, right? Of course. So it's just having a few smarts, getting very strategic about what activities you're doing and why, how they're leading people in to become a lead, and become a lead that is the right person for your offering. And that's how you attract them. That's how you also have really easy sales. So it's these things that mean you can run your business more efficiently, more effectively. And of course, that is the most important thing when you are a parent and you want to use your time for other stuff. Now, I've got to go and run because school finishes soon and I've got to go and walk up there and meet my daughter. So I'll be back again next week. If you love this episode and you're not yet a subscriber, please click that follow button or subscribe so that you get the episodes in your feed each week. There's so many incredible episodes, really amazing guests that have shared so much value. I know that you'll love it. And if you've got a moment and you don't mind doing it, I would be so appreciative if you hit the 5 stars on the ratings, and if you've got a couple of words to say, drop a review, because that helps this podcast to get seen by more people. It helps it get shared and suggested to more people who are looking for female guests on entrepreneurial podcasts just like this. See you next week. Thank you and have a good one.